Now I'm going to show you how to make a hand tie. My hand ties, I think, are a little bit different from the very structured posy hand tie. I like to get volume in my hand ties, and as long as you follow the same principle of going in the spiral, you can achieve that by being very strict, or you can achieve it in the way that I do it. I'm going to show you that in just a second. Right, okay. We have our foliage. This is eucalyptus. It's a standard eucalyptus, which is quite big, sort of medallion shaped leaves. And what we want to do is take off the lower parts of the foliage, keep them to one side because we can use them later on in something else. This is petisporum, and it's the large leaf. A lot of people have this growing in their garden with the tiny little petite leaves. Both are just amazing, and they give a nice sort of angle to your tied arrangements, and a little bit of variation because they're variegated and they've got a bit of cream and a bit of green. And let's say we want to have completely clean stems on all our foliage. So everything below the line that you're going to tie needs to be clear. And then we will definitely use these at another later stage. And when you're doing hand ties, it's best to work in odd numbers. I've got 4 of those, and I'll show you why I've got 4 of those in a minute. But it's always best to work in odd numbers, so 3, 5, and so on, because you want to try and achieve a spiral, and for some reason, odd numbers create a spiral in a much better way because you can sort of in like a 3s. So ideally, what you want to do is you want to hold the first one between your thumb and your hand. And then the second one, you're going to push just on the one side so it crosses over. And the third one, again, you want to cross over in there. So what you've got is that kind of angle. You've got a triangle shape, 3 prongs down there, and that's your basic shape. So everything that you create now follows that same shape. And you've got spaces to put things. So there's 3 spaces, and then as we get fuller, more spaces will become available, and then the center will become a point that you can start to use. So then you want to take these and you go into the spaces of the 3 that you've created and twist it round a little bit. And then into that space and twist it round a bit. Don't hold it so tight that you can't open your hand, because you need to be able to hold the spiral and your hand needs to be able to move. And you're basically placing the foliage in between and then clasping with the lower fingers. And then you take your third type of foliage and you go in between. And then you slightly twist it around. And then you get your next bit and you place it through your fingers and you twist it around. And the last piece goes in there and you twist it around. And you can see there that almost if you had a vase and you wanted to just do that, it's perfect. But we're going to carry on. I find it easier if you cut the stems a little bit shorter, and you're not bashing into things as you work. So we're going to move those aside. And then we're going to choose our flowers. So I'm going to put these down. Hydrangeas, whatever the season, are the most amazing flower. Again, hydrangeas need to take all the big leaves off because those leaves will drink all the water. For the purpose of this, we're just going to use 3 to start with, maybe 4, because they're so gorgeous. And we're going to use these Alstroemeria because they're just stunning colours. Oh. And we're going to go for 5 of those. These have already been prepped. Take those off there. Those. And then to make it even more gorgeous, we're going to use these, which are my favourite rose. They're called Pink Floyd. They have the biggest heads and they last for such a long time. And we're going to go for 5 of those. Put them down there. So we're going to take our spiral of foliage, which is our base, and we're going to add, using the same technique, we're just going to open up our hand while still keeping that together and place the hydrangea just in there. And then we're going to twist it around to the next gap. And then we're going to place that in there. And we're going to twist it around to the next gap. And we're going to place that in there. So as you can see now, you've got this sort of triangle shape of your hand tie, and it's really coming together. Now what we want to do is we want to create a little bit of height. And actually, I've just spotted these here. And this is what I'm going to use for my height. These gorgeous dahlias. I mean, I have to say, I was never a huge fan of dahlias, but in recent years, I think it's just this year, to be honest, that I've really noticed the colours and the blousiness of these gorgeous flowers. And we're going to do the same thing, but we're going to just thread the flowers in and twist. Again, taking off all the lower leaves. And we're going to do the same. Place that in there, but give them a little bit more height so that they poke out at the top of the hydrangeas, and twist it round. My suggestion would be to actually prep all your flowers before you start making that. But it just gives you a bit more control. Obviously, when you've been doing it as long as I have, kind of wing it half the time. So there we go. We've got 3 of those, which gives you a different dimension, bit of a height. And then I'm going to do the same with these, and I'm going to place them just beneath the dahlias. So you get a bit of colour in between the hydrangeas and the dahlias. And then twist. And then twist. And now, you see you're going around the outside like that, which is fantastic. But what you're finding is that in the center, you've got a gap. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to thread one of these Alstroe through the middle. And I find it easier to turn it upside down because then you can hold it with less. You just need to work your way through the foliage open your hand slightly so your grip is loose, but you've still got control. And so you get something in the middle. Now, again, you could just stop there, but you know, I never stop. And so what I want to do is try and fill the gaps that I can see by poking your flowers through the gaps, but you're still maintaining that spiral as you go round. So when you put flowers in, wherever you put them, make sure the stem always follows that spiral. And then turn it around. And then I'm going to place one through here. But again, you see it's coming out and it still follows that line. And one more. Put that down here. Just gives you that look where you've got colour and something going on at every stage. As you do this more and more, you just get used to how it feels to hold the flowers, and you need to get into the habit of holding them loose enough to give them, so you're not squishing them, and just tight enough to keep them in the round. Just wondering whether we need to I actually think to give you an idea of how you've done your hand tie, that's going to be enough. I can't resist it. I'm going to put a couple of these in. Lovely thing about hydrangeas is that you can actually thread the flowers through the centre of the hydrangea. Okay, so you see you've got all your stems going round one way. And then what we need to do is get an idea of the height of the vase to where you need to cut your stems. That's about right. So you want the actual tie, you want it to sink into the vase so that the flowers just rest on the rim of the vase. Then we need, oh, I think it's in here. We need our trusty string. For this, you can use garden twine, you can use general household string. What you need to do is just place the string between the thumb and the stems and take the string around the top of your hand. And again, pulling tight enough to keep the stems together, but not too tight that you break all the stems of the flowers. I think it just comes, you'll get it as you practice. And then pull both together. Now what's lovely about hand ties is that they sit on the edge of the table and you can just tie them off. Again, when you start doing this for the first time, it feels really hard, but with practice, vase, gently squeeze the stems together. Trying to get them all in at the same time. Oh, that could probably do a little bit more taken off. Some of these stems can be really, it's more the eucalyptus and the foliage stems that tend to be the trickiest. That should be fine. There you go. And you've done a hand tie. Don't forget to put the water in.